I was chilling in a shady corner of the ballroom, peeping a couple getting down on the dance floor. Their eyes were locked on each other, and the chick's chest was moving up and down as her dude pulled her in closer than she probably expected. Her tiny body was pressed against his big one, and they were looking classy as hell with their moves. Dude was moving like a pro athlete, and she was keeping up with him nicely. Everyone was staring at them, feeling the vibes between them. Maybe it wasn't love, but there was definitely a strong connection there, even stronger than just being buddies. Her blonde hair was flowing, adding to the whole scene. Man, my wife was all cozy with her boss at her company's annual awards banquet. She was practically glued to him, didn't really have a choice with how tightly he was holding her. I would have been jealous if she wasn't my wife for 11 years. Instead, I was pissed off and embarrassed. It wasn't the first time we went to this event, and everyone there knew she was my wife. I could see people looking around for me while we were all just standing there watching. We were all waiting for the show to start, and after 3 dances, they ditched the dance floor and joined the rest of our co-workers at the round table in the middle of the room. I watched as she gazed at him with those insane eyes that used to be mine. It's not like I've seen them recently, but it still makes me sick. All I could think was that things were about to blow up soon. I just had to hang in there a little longer. I was trying to come to terms with my fear and hatred. I used to love, respect, and trust my wife, but now I'm feeling resentful towards her. I've been trying so hard to fix things and make our marriage work, but it feels like a losing battle. I've done everything from planning date nights to doing chores and trying to talk to her, but she just keeps walking away. I've even left her flowers, notes, and love cards, but nothing seems to be working. I'm starting to feel hopeless and sorry for myself. Man, I sent flowers to a job, hoping to find them in the trash. Didn't even hear if she got them or not. Now all I can do is wait. I pushed those thoughts out of my head as I headed back to the janky bar in the corner and stood behind Marianne, one of Kelsey's old work buddies. "You having a good time?" she asked, trying to act chill. "I always love these parties, Harold always hooks it up with the free booze," she said. I smiled and nodded, picking up my empty glass. "Yeah, me too. Hey, have you seen Jason around? Where's the wife today?" I was worried my stress was showing. She always looks so fancy and is fun to talk to. "Oh, didn't Kel say Jason gave her divorce papers today? I guess she wasn't holding up her end of the marriage." I caught Marianne at that perfect level of drunk where she doesn't filter her words. I wasn't mad about it though. It's Friday night and we came here straight after work, so it's all good. That gossip wasn't just a little lie, it was a total lie. We left work early to get ready for the evening. She had plenty of time to bring it up, but she decided not to. I refilled my Captain and Diet, grabbed a glass of white wine for Kelsey, and walked over to the table where she and Jason were chatting. They were so into each other that they didn't even notice me approaching. "Kelsa, I got you a glass of wine," I said as I handed her the glass. She jumped a bit when I spoke. "Oh, you scared me," she squeaked, taking the glass. "Thanks, hun." The rest of us started feeling more and more awkward the longer we stood there. Most people found something oddly fascinating on a dirty tablecloth or across the room and avoided looking at me directly. Some just stared at me, probably trying to figure out what was going on in my head and how clueless I could be. There was this younger guy, around 25, who even smirked as he caught me checking out the table. We locked eyes for a moment, but then he quickly looked away and pretended to be interested in the tablecloth too. It was almost 1 o'clock in the morning and a lot of people were. Everyone else bounced from the hotel, but Kelsey wasn't ready to call it a night with her dance partner. "We should probs head home, babe. I still gotta drop off the babysitter, and we promised her we wouldn't be out past 2 tonight," I said, cutting in on her time with Jason. Fine. I guess it's time for us to dip." "CYA Monday," she said with a smile, clearly relieved that the awkwardness was coming to an end. "Jason, good seeing a YA man," I said as I shook his hand. A tough guy tried to flex his muscles with a firm handshake. He was 3 inches taller than my 6 feet, but I outweighed him by about 15 pounds and had a little gut poking out. I squeezed a bit harder than usual, staring him down and seeing his dishonesty and arrogance in his eyes. Eventually, he stopped shaking and bid us good night. I nodded to the others as we left the room and headed to the car. We didn't say a word on the ride home, but she had a glowing smile that lit up her face as soon as we arrived. Kelsey went home to check on Caitlin, our 9-year-old daughter, while I paid Brittany and got ready to take her home. When I got back, I went to the bedroom and found Kelsey already in bed and asleep. I checked on Caitlin, went to the bathroom and then crashed in the spare room. I knew there was no chance of getting lucky tonight, it had been so long since we had sex. As I closed my eyes and drifted off to sleep, all I saw was the ceiling. My mind was racing through my internal checklist. Tomorrow I woke up early on Saturday morning. Caitlin was already in the living room watching her shows. I waved slightly as I stood in the doorway. "Have you already had breakfast?" "Yeah," she declared, waving a milk-soaked spoon in the air, splashing drops of milk onto the carpet. "Okay, calm down, Mom is still sleeping and I need to work in my office." Okay, Dad," she said too loudly and I chuckled. I called my lawyer on his cell phone around 8:30, knowing that he was working from home on Saturday morning. "Good morning, Bill, this is Matthew Franks." "Hey Matt, I'm pretty sure this isn't a good news call." He already knew what was up. "It's go time, the plan is in motion. I heard Jason served his wife yesterday. Do we know if Kelsey has lawyered up yet?" "I don't think so, but I'll double check and get back to you. Let's meet at the coffee shop in 30 minutes so you can sign and date the forms with my assistant for notarization. We'll file everything on Monday morning and serve her at lunch." "Cool. Hey, catch you later." I got to the coffee shop early and gave a little smile to the cute person behind the counter. I grabbed my order and settled into a cozy chair by the fireplace. My mind started to drift. I never imagined I'd end up divorcing the love of my life. It's hard to pinpoint the moment you realize your comfortable life is falling apart, but for me, it was getting a traffic ticket from one of those red light cameras. Crazy, right? I saw the license plate of the car, the date, and the timestamp in the mail. I got a fine. I laughed because I knew it was Kelsey. She always forgets to turn off her headlights when she's in a rush. I opened it expecting to cry and stay quiet because nothing good ever comes from her facing consequences. The driver's photo showed Kelsey with a guy's shoulder and I'm next to her. I couldn't see his face but I knew it was him. It wasn't a big deal, she could have been out for lunch or going to a meeting. I was going through my phone and saw that on March 5th, something felt off. I found our old text messages from that day. I had mentioned stopping by Mary's after work to grab some clothes for Kate. At the time, I didn't think anything was weird about it. Mary's daughter was older than Kate, and they always gave nice gifts. Although I usually thought Mary brought them to work, my gut feeling was still off. "Hey, you want me to cook dinner?" "Yeah, what time should I expect you?" "Well, we could chat for a minute." "Okay, have fun." "Thanks, we'll do that." What a mess, I thought as I checked the intersection on Google Maps. It was on the opposite end of town from where Mary lived. But it could still be innocent, right? But then I started putting the pieces together. Since late November, Kelsey has been keeping a low profile. I noticed that throughout the holidays, we argued over stupid things. By January, she no longer liked holding my hand while shopping. As we walked, our chats mainly revolved around work or Caitlin. We stopped discussing our dreams, family trips, or what the future held. I've had a trust fund since I was a kid, thanks to my great-grandfather who bought a ton of land in the Pacific Northwest. As the town expanded, he sold some of it back to the community. When he passed away, I inherited some of it, which went into this fund. It grew even more when my grandfather passed, thanks to some smart investments. I never had to worry about starting over because my family had it all covered. Things were going pretty well, even got a bit better after my old man passed away and my mom kicked the bucket. I got all their stuff and just kept on investing and growing our wealth. The three of us were pretty much set for life, but Kelsey and I kept grinding to save up for retirement. I made sure to get a prenup to protect our cash. So, when Kelsey and I tied the knot, we made sure to keep our prenup and wills up to date every few years. One thing that never changed was the basic divorce rule: what's mine is mine, what's yours is yours. But we did add a clause for Caitlin's education just in case I kicked the bucket or we split up. And we made sure to include some details on how I could die. Obviously, Kelsey wouldn't get squat if she had a hand in offing me. That's why I made sure to have a plan in place. So basically, I've been using the same family lawyer and accountant for years. I reached out to my lawyer to get a recommendation for the best divorce lawyer in town. I set up a meeting with him for later this week to see what my options are. Since we had a good prenup, he wasn't too concerned about any money stuff. I told him I wasn't quite ready to make any big moves yet, but just wanted to know what to do next. He suggested we could hire a private investigator to check things out and see if there's any cause for concern. Sorry, but all my investigators are swamped at the moment. It'll be a few weeks before they can even think about looking into your case. I don't want to wait though, I'm already losing sleep over this. Are there any other options? Well, there is one guy, Larry the sketchy dude. He's trying to turn his life around, but not many people trust him. Bill mentioned that he's an ex-cop who got fired for being shady and doing some sketchy stuff. He could start right away, but I'm not sure if I would recommend sticking with him long term. Why do you ask? You're saying he's a shady dude? I asked, chuckling. I want everything to be above board, so if we find something, we'll be in the clear. If we need to take action, that's fine. He's legit, but he has a knack for getting detailed pics, videos, emails, and phone convos that are borderline sketchy in court. But apparently, what he digs up is solid proof of cheating, one way or another. As long as it's legal, we could just pay him off and move on. I found a better private eye who will be available in a few weeks. Do you think he can start working today? I'll give him a call and check. I'll be the middleman in the office for you. I'll give you an update later today. Sounds good, thanks. I had to fill out a ton of paperwork for both the lawyer and the shady guy. I hooked him up with my accountant and made sure the retainer fee came from a separate account so Kelsey wouldn't find out. Didn't want to freak her out, especially if I was wrong about all this. Just going through a rough patch in our marriage, so I thought I'd step up and work on fixing things with my wife. From what I've learned, people don't just act out of character for no reason, so I figured there must have been something triggering it. Not knowing where we stood, I took it upon myself to show her I still cared. I took matters into my own hands and did everything I could to make her feel special and appreciated. I thought we were in it together, so I showered her with love and aimed to be the kind of husband all her friends would envy. But she kept shutting me down, and it was clear we were beyond fixing things. Then one Thursday, my buddy asked me to swing by his office to see what he'd dug up. He had hours of video showing them together, getting it on, and playing happy couple. There were also photos, phone records, and personal emails. I was kinda impressed by how sneaky he was, but also totally grossed out. Still, I went along with it. Man, when I found out that his nickname was totally fitting, I was shocked. I never would have guessed that she was messing around with Jason Stanton. I guess I can see why she was into him. He was tall, good-looking, and in great shape. Plus, he was doing well in his career and personal life. He took over Kelsey's department as his assistant a year ago, so he was always around and got to know her really well. Turns out, Jason used to be a big shot in baseball. So this dude was in college, but he couldn't go to grad school because of a shoulder injury in his last year. How can you not be impressed by him? I never thought Kelsey would let him get in the way of our friendship. It was all too much for me. I couldn't even breathe, my chest felt tight, my vision was blurry, and I thought I was gonna faint. I pushed my chair back, put my head between my knees, and tried to focus on my breathing. I just kept inhaling and exhaling until my head cleared up. The feeling of loss and emptiness was overwhelming. Man, I just lost the most important person in my life, my best friend, my partner, my lover, and the mother of my child. I felt like there was no way out of that situation, and then it got even worse. He played back a recording he made the day before, revealing why he wanted to bring us all together. Do you love me? I could hear the excitement in her voice. Yes, my dear. You are the perfect woman for me. I love you and I want us to be a family. You mean you, me, and Caitlin? Definitely. What about Matt and Shannon? We'll divorce them. You'll get Caitlin and we'll live like a happy family. That was the bombshell. During our chat, I could tell Kelsey was shocked by what her lover just told her. You really love me, don't you, Kelsey? Yes, of course, she replied. I never really considered leaving Matt. Well, just think about it for a bit. He can never give you what I can. You'll be the belle of the ball, part of high society, seeing places and things he could never afford. I could hear the disdain in his voice and picture the smug look on his face as he said it. I swear, he would be screwed if he lost Kate. She's everything to him. I'll be a way better dad than that loser could ever dream of being. In a year, Kate won't even want to see him. Why do you hate him so much? What did he do to you? There was a hint of concern in her voice, and honestly, I was curious too. Kel, he doesn't deserve you. This guy has no drive or ambition to be anything more than he is now. He's just a mindless worker making someone else rich. Did you know he's a plant manager? His plant employs 400 people and they have. Yo, this plant's got the highest production and revenue per square foot out of all of M. I gotta admit, I was kinda impressed that Kelsey knew that. But I wish we were talking about this in their dining room instead of this hotel room. That dude is a total wuss, a weak beater who had zero drive or ambition in school. He didn't even bother getting an MBA. He served his purpose, but trust me, I could crush him any day of the week. And hey, Jason, don't go thinking you're all high and mighty compared to Matt. He ain't no weakling, you don't know squat. So, like, back in the day, he used to chill with some sketchy dudes and is pretty handy with a gun. He was on the verge of going down the wrong path himself until he decided to hit the books. That's why he didn't go to college for a few years after high school. Now, it seems like she's boasting about how he's stronger and tougher than people think. Promise me you won't try to throw hands with him. I don't want either of you getting hurt. He's Kate's concern and you're mine, but I don't. I'm not into him like that. I wish I wasn't. Yo, you know he was my man before, but now you're stepping in as my new boo. My girl, she took a moment to think about how we gonna make this work and when we gonna both dip out on our current partners. I gotta get my stuff together before I handle Shannon, but with her mental health issues and the fact that we haven't even done the deed in a whole year, it ain't gonna be a problem. We gonna split everything down the middle, she probably won't even put up a fight. But you gotta start the process with Shannon before I even talk to a lawyer, she ain't messing around. I could tell she just trying to be smart and not mess up her cushy life. Man, this was a tough moment for her, but her man agreed for the sake of their true love. Come here, woman, I said. I made sure the recording was off by now, I didn't need to hear anymore. I looked at Bill and asked, how am I supposed to handle this? Matt, you gotta strike first, he said. But what if she changes her mind? Just. They rarely do that, Mr. Franks. They are at a point where nothing you say or do will stop them or make them repent. I finally got a good look at the scoundrel. He was in his 30s, fit, athletic, and his suit fit him perfectly. Not at all how I had pictured him. Yo, I gotta give it to Larry, he's been pretty legit lately. I feel like he's actually on my team, even though I'm the one shelling out the cash. He's really not feeling these other two dudes and their shady ways. And now that you mention it, I don't think I want to deal with her either. Yeah, you're right, Larry. Let me sleep on it and I'll hit you up tomorrow. Cool? Sounds good. Hey Matt, can I start working on the document outline and we can fill in the details later, or scrap the whole thing if needed? Yeah, let's do it. Hey, Larry, let's do it like this. He followed me and gave me his business card. Here's my personal number, Mr. Franks, in case you need me. Just give me a call, Larry. Thanks, Matt. I know some people who could help you get revenge if you ever decide to go that route. They don't call me Larry the Dastard for nothing, he said with a smile, laughing. I replied, nice to meet you, Larry. I'll let you know if I need help, but seriously, thanks for the offer. I don't think I could do that to Kels, but it's good to know I have the option. Yo, if I decide to go down that path, Larry gave me a smile and a wave as he walked to his car. I spent the whole weekend thinking about my decision. I couldn't focus on anything else, and Kelsey didn't even seem to realize that I was making a huge decision for our family. It hit me that she had already made up her mind for all of us. I was dealing with doubts, anger, fear, and disappointment. The worst part was feeling humiliated and like I was losing my manhood. My identity was tied to my job and my family. Who would I even be without my family? I was freaking out about Caitlin and how she was gonna move on to the next stage. It pissed me off to think that this cocky jerk was gonna be raising my daughter. I even had images of him walking her down the aisle at her wedding. My emotions and thoughts were all over the place, and even drowning them in alcohol didn't help. It wasn't until Sunday morning, sitting on the back porch with a killer headache, that I realized this was probably gonna happen no matter how much I resisted. I've already lost her. Hey babe, I could tell she was looking down on me. I've already screwed up with my family, so now the only thing left to figure out is how I'm gonna lose everything. Then I remembered that old saying, lead, follow, or get out of the way. Well, I wasn't about to sit back, and I sure as hell wasn't gonna follow those scammers. So, I had no choice but to take charge. On Monday morning, I called up Bill. Bill, it's Matt Franks. Good morning. Hey Matt, any progress on finding a solution? Yeah, I need you to fill out all the necessary paperwork and add. So, Larry only got the official photos and we are splitting everything down the middle. I asked, do you want to sell the house? Yeah, we got a loan with a low interest rate from my trust fund to buy it, so basically we've been paying ourselves this whole time. We'll split any profits we make, but I'll pay back the full loan amount plus all the interest we've paid over the years. Oh, and make sure to add an extra $200,000 from my trust fund as a thank you for her help. She might be more chill if she knew she wouldn't be left completely broke. I want primary custody. I know it won't be easy, but maybe Larry can dig up some dirt on our boy Jason to make him look like a bad dad for Kate. I heard he was a big shot in a frat in college, maybe he went too far with some of his wins. Let Larry loose on him, please. I have a backup plan for Kate if we don't get full custody. Write up the most fair shared custody plan you can think of. I paused so Bill could catch up. Also, I want to sue Jason for turning Kate against me. I need to get Shannon, his wife, mixed up in this situation. I want her to know everything that's happening, legally. And speaking of her, please come up with another plan to catch her cheating so we can get her divorced. I'll foot the bill. She deserves it. We can confront them both together, but it probably won't go anywhere. I also need her to sign a contract with me. I can start filling out the paperwork, but I can't do anything else without her permission or details, Bill explained. I'm just trying to stir things up a bit. I want to sue Kelsey's company for letting her hook up with her boss. I doubt they have a moral clause in their rules, but it's shady for a company to let that happen. He's her boss, for crying out loud. I know this might not go anywhere, but let's give it a shot. It's gonna be expensive, but hey, let's see what happens, right? Man, we're talking about a ton of hours here. And if things get even more complicated, I get it, it's just money. But I gotta make sure these two don't end up making more money than they should. Like my old man used to say, when you hire a lawyer, you're basically just figuring out how much it's gonna cost you. Bill cracked up when I made a snarky comment about lawyers, saying, we'll have to agree that your dad was a wise man. You know, you don't have to give her any money from your trust, your prenup is solid. I know, Bill, but I've been thinking. Been mulling it over all weekend and I've made up my mind that if I don't screw her over financially, she might be more likely to give in to my demands. She did put in a lot of effort and helped me out, we were both saving up for our retirement. I figured it could give her a leg up over Jason so she doesn't have to depend on him as much when she's on her own. She deserves better, but I'm not about to give that cheating jerk Jason more than is already taken from me. No way, not happening. I was so pissed off when I talked about how Jason took over what should have been my life. I always try to be fair in my relationships, even if Kelsey doesn't treat me the same way. I'm confident that Caitlin will understand and support my decision once she sees how our family has fallen apart. Oh, and Bill, don't do anything yet. I want everything ready to go and I'm waiting for her to make the first move. This will allow me to spend more time with Kate at our family home. I know there will come a time when I have to make a decision, but I want to wait until the very last moment when I can't handle it anymore. Got it? We can keep everything unsigned and notarized until you're ready. I work from home on Saturday mornings, so you can also reach me on weekends. We won't be able to file until Monday morning anyways, but I can have someone wait at the door and serve them that day. Okay, that's the plan. We said our goodbyes and I took Larry's. I took out my business card from my pocket and called Larry Matt Franks. Hey, how are you? She asked. I'm good, he replied. Are you ready for some shady stuff? I hesitated, well, kind of, but I need you to wait for my signal, okay? No problem, Matt. What's this about? She asked. Can we meet in person, he suggested. Sure, give me an hour, I agreed. I was already waiting when he pulled into the parking lot. He grabbed some coffee and a snack before sitting down across from me. I want to gather all the dirt, photos, videos, recordings, everything. We need to figure out a way to pass it on anonymously, he explained. Hey Shannon, no worries about sending this via email. So, Larry mentioned he knows a guy who does some shady stuff on the dark web. He suggested posting a video on a porn site or sending mean messages to Kel's family or colleagues. Man, he's sneaky. I don't want Kel to be embarrassed and leave town with Kate. I still care about her, even though she doesn't feel the same way anymore. I passed a $5,000 cash envelope to kick things off, but just give me a heads up if you need more. Larry took the cash and gave me a look. $3,000 should do it. He might be a jerk, but at least is straight up. Keep the rest as a down payment. I might need your skills later, so don't forget. Sit tight in the folder until I give you a ring. I want to surprise them and I have my reasons for letting them take the lead. Oh, we also need to figure out what health issues his wife has. Her medical history could impact our decisions later on. Can you do this? Yes, and Bill also wanted you to dig up info on Jason's college days. Trying to find some dirt I can use against them if it comes down to a custody battle. He just nodded and jotted down some stuff in his notepad. After we finished our coffee, we talked about his time as a cop and people we both knew. Then we wrapped up, shook hands, and went our own ways. That was 3 months ago. I snapped back to reality when Bill showed up, followed by his assistant and Larry. Ready to go? Bill asked once everyone was seated. Yep, looks like it, Larry replied. We don't know if Kelsey has gotten legal advice yet. From what I know, I just took a quick peek at her email after Bill rang me up and didn't spot anything fishy. I'll have a proper look today and should have all the deets by Monday morning. Larry grinned and winked slyly at me. What about Jason? Any skeletons in his closet? I asked, hoping for some juicy gossip. Turns out, he's under investigation with his fraternity for some shady business involving date rape, drugs and underage girls at parties. I got copies of everything and already handed them over to Bill. Bill looked up, nodded, and confirmed, I've got them in case we need them. During the custody hearing, we brought out the documents we've been working on for months. He showed me where to sign, and once I signed, Bill's assistant notarized it. I also spoke to the group and asked Larry to find out who Shannon Stanton hired as her lawyer and let Bill know. If he's any good, Bill, could you share our legal file with him? What if he's not a good lawyer? Bill asked. Then we'll somehow connect you with Shannon, but I'd prefer to do it the right way, Larry. I don't think we need to. Tell that creep Larry to get lost, Larry agreed as he took a sip of his coffee. Bill then turned to us and asked, can I grab the documents on Monday afternoon? I'll give them to Kelsey first and let her know what's going on. Then you can officially serve her on Tuesday. Bill nodded in understanding and instructed his assistant to prepare the server for Tuesday. And I want Jason and his crew to be served on Tuesday afternoon. Let's start reaching out to Shannon, she needs to be in the loop. Bill, make sure to share the file with her. I'm meeting with Shannon's lawyer on Monday afternoon, as long as he doesn't mess up my talk with Kelsey on Monday night. I leaned back in my chair and sighed, everything should be good to go by Wednesday. Matt, have you figured out where Kelsey will crash on Monday night? Bill just asked. Any issue with her crashing at the house for a few days? No, not unless you get a restraining order and she agrees. I wouldn't sleep with her legally, I don't think it's a problem, but it might make you feel weird. I would be concerned about it. What a shady lawyer would have done with this info, Bill said. Okay, I'll give her a week to find a place. We're not getting it on right now, so I don't see an issue. Oh, you mean actually sharing the same bed? Our papers give me temporary control of the house and Kate, right? Yes, until her lawyer files a motion and flips the whole thing, or until we all agree. I meant sleeping in the same bed might give off a strange vibe on the applications, Bill explained. Don't worry, we're not sleeping together. Hey Larry, what's the deal with Shannon's health? I heard she's been dealing with depression and bipolar disorder for years. Apparently, the medication messed up her sex drive, so Mr. Wonderful started looking around. I don't want to know how you found out, Larry just smiled and shook his head. Bill acted all shocked. She asked Bill if this had anything to do with us, and he said not right now. But it might come up later when we are figuring out guardianship and who stays with who. We might mention it as a condition in the final draft. Caitlin is never alone with him. Bill was busy on his iPad while he talked. We chatted for a bit longer, then one by one we stopped our strategy session and went on with our day. I felt a bit down for the rest of the weekend, thinking about all the stuff I had to do on Monday. Kelsey didn't seem to notice, but I didn't really expect her to. I called my aunt on Sunday and asked her to pick up Caitlin from school on Monday and keep her overnight so I could have a talk with Kelsey about some important family stuff. So, they lived on a farm outside of town and Kate was all about playing with their dogs and feeding the animals. She's gonna be taking Caitlin to school on Tuesday, and we decided to break the news to Caitlin Tuesday evening. I told Caitlin about the plan and she was stoked, but also a bit puzzled as to why she had to wait until Tuesday. I just told her that Mom and Dad needed some alone time to chat about stuff. She reluctantly agreed. I crashed in the spare room once again with Kelsey. I totally forgot to tell you, but when I saw you heading there before bedtime, I felt so relieved. I was lying in bed on Sunday night, going over my checklist and making sure my plan was all set. Eventually, I fell asleep. On Monday morning, I called my VP of operations and told them I needed a week off. I also called my assistant and senior production manager to give them any info they might need while I'm away. Around 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I went to Bill's office and ran into Larry by accident. I noticed a pile of papers on the desk. Man, the office was buzzing with activity, so I knew everyone was busy. Matt told me we filed some paperwork at the courthouse this morning, and here are Kelsey's papers like you asked for. We've also got the official filing at your house scheduled for around 9 a.m. on Tuesday, cool with you? Bill asked, handing me the envelopes. Yeah, that works for me. I'm gonna try and get her to take the rest of the week off. I'll give you a shout if anything changes, I replied. Sounds good. Bill paused for a sec before continuing. Larry found Shannon's lawyer is really good, so I gave him our files and he got excited. He'll probably try to sue for adultery and get more of their stuff than just half. He promised not to do anything until tomorrow, so everything's fine. Okay guys, did we forget anything? I asked, feeling a bit down. Looks like Kelsey has a meeting with her lawyer next week, based on her calls and emails. And Matt, let me know if you need more help, okay? Larry asked cautiously, getting another sharp look. Hey Bill, everything good with us? I think we are good. Hopefully, I don't have to get any more involved than I already am. It's up to Kelsey and Jason now. I left Bill's office and texted Kelsey asking if she'll be home at a decent time tonight. She said 5:30. I was just a bit busy this weekend and want to catch up tonight. I arranged for Aunt Alex to pick up Kate and stay overnight. I think I'll bring her. Hey, do you have any requests for dinner tonight? I'll have it ready by 5:30. I felt like a total jerk for putting her on the spot like that, but it's been happening a lot lately. I hoped she just thought I was being extra sweet and loving. Kelsey got home around 5:15 and changed while I set the table and got the food ready. I poured her some wine and was already at the table when she came in. We took a few sips and started passing the food back and forth while chatting. We were chatting while eating, and she seemed clueless about what was coming. What's your week looking like? I asked after we finished eating. We both grabbed our favorite dishes off our plates without hesitation. Do you want to make plans? She asked, glancing at me. No, I thought you might want to take a break after our conversation, I said flatly, trying to keep my emotions in check. Why should I do that? I know, Kelsey, I started, placing the envelope in front of her. She just looked at it, then back at me. Me again, sipping on my wine. I know all about Jason and your plans to get a divorce. She coughed a bit, almost choking on her wine, and stared at me blankly. I could see her wheels turning, trying to figure out how I found out and how she could stop me. What's the deal? She finally caught on. You're meeting with the lawyer next week, and Jason already filed against Shannon. I know you're in love with him and planning to take Kate and leave me. I opened the bag for her and slid some photos over. Her eyes got big and she put her drink down and grabbed the photos, flipping through them. I could see tears welling up in her eyes and she started to hiccup a bit, which always happens when she gets too emotional. I'm really sorry, Matthew. I never wanted this to happen. I don't know what else to say, she said, falling silent and staring at the table. I know, Kel. I've known about your plans for months now. I've had some time to process it all a little. I'm really disappointed in you and it hurts me a lot, I replied, holding my breath for a moment. Get my mojo back and keep my temper in check. All I want to know is, did I screw up somehow and push you towards Jason? Oh my God, no, she cried, locking eyes with me briefly before turning away to the table. I think she felt guilty and ashamed. It just happened, you didn't do anything to push me away. You were a great husband and dad. I just caught feelings for him, she finally confessed. I was both let down and relieved. I guess there's nothing I can do if she just stopped loving me and chose Jason instead. He had enough time to win her over and kick me out. Now, there's nothing I can do to stop it. Our marriage is over and all that's left is paperwork. I handed her the divorce papers and said, here's the agreement I suggest. I've already filled out my part, so you don't have to worry about that. The main points are, the prenup is still in effect, so my trust fund is off the table. If you agree, we can move forward. Hey, so I'm willing to sell all our stuff and split the money 50-50ths. This includes the house, since I filed for divorce first. I want full custody of Caitlin and just the minimum child support from you. You can visit her whenever you want, I'll be flexible. I'll keep her on my insurance, but you'll have to get your own. You can keep your 401k investments from our marriage and the inheritance from your mom. I don't want to take anything that's really yours. Hey, we're gonna split up all the money we put into investments as a couple. Kate and I are gonna stay in the house until we sell it. I'll also give you $200,000 from my trust to help you get settled. I suggest you make a prenup and protect your assets if you end up with Jason like you planned. I don't want you to lose anything. I want to make sure you can stand on your own 2 feet, and I'm not asking for any money from you. She paused to let it sink in. I think I should bring Caitlin into the picture. She's gonna need her mom when she's older, she said firmly. I totally agree, but we can handle this from a distance with visits and calls. Honestly, I don't trust Jason with our daughter. I know he's gonna try to win her over with gifts and his smooth talk. He couldn't have his own kid, so now he wants mine. I'm fine with him having my wife, but he's not getting my daughter. I know we need to talk about custody, so let's discuss it. Lawyers make money by being nice. I tried to make peace by offering it when I saw her getting mad during Kate and Jason's argument. He would never harm her, that's on you. Keeping her away from her mom is one way to do it. Anyway, she'll stay with me until we come up with a plan. You can crash in the master bedroom for a few nights or a week until you sort things out. Kelsey, I still love you so much. I thought we'd take on the world together, but you're breaking my heart. Man, I don't know what to do right now, my whole world is crashing down and I'm trying to be fair and nice. I really don't want to hurt you like you hurt me, but if you go crazy or let Jason get involved, I'll have to do the same. And trust me, I have resources that none of you have. My tone got serious and she could hear the anger in my voice. I can play tough if I have to, she's seen it before. So let's keep things calm and let the lawyers handle it. That's what I really want. I want to make sure we always treat each other with respect whenever we see each other. I think it's important for Caitlin to see us getting along. I want both of us to be really involved in our daughter's life. I pleaded with her, I didn't want things to get ugly. I'm available until the end of the week, and legally you have to be served officially, which is happening at the house at 9 a.m. I didn't want you to feel embarrassed at work, so maybe you should call in and take a few days off too. I know it will be tough for both of us to be at home, but I was thinking we could sit down with Caitlin tomorrow night or keep her home on Wednesday to explain what's going on. Kelsey has already stopped eating and looks pale and sickly. I think the full consequences of her actions have finally sunk in. She only has herself to blame. I was feeling great until she messed everything up. She looked at me like a fish out of water. Hey Matt, you really thought ahead and beat us to the punch. I have no idea how you did it, but I'll call work first thing and at least be home until Wednesday. Do you think Alex can come over tomorrow night too? Maybe just keep her out of school tomorrow and bring her back Wednesday morning so we can chat. My private detective Larry found out about everything after I got some hints that something was off in Denmark. I'll call Aunt Alex right away. I think this is a genius plan. Kelsey gave me a heads up. Yeah, so I told her about Larry and she was sorting through some papers. I said goodnight and figured she needed some alone time to deal with it. I saw her go into the main bedroom and lock the door, but it was fine because I had already moved most of my stuff into the spare room. I called my aunt and told her we were dealing with some family stuff, and she agreed to keep Caitlin for an extra night and drop her off on Wednesday morning. I also talked to her. I texted Caitlin to tell her she didn't have to go to school the next day. She was kinda confused but didn't really care. I said me and my mom would explain everything on Wednesday. While I was putting stuff away and getting ready for bed, I heard Kelsey talking on the phone through the door, then later heard her crying over our marriage ending. I heard Kelsey getting up early and getting ready for work. At 9 o'clock on the dot, she came downstairs in casual clothes and opened the door. She officially received her package, but they took out the photos and transcripts. She met with them in her room last night, then grabbed her keys and purse and left. She didn't say where she was going, but I figured it was to meet with Jason, her lawyer, or someone else who might be on her side. Bill called me later to tell me that both Jason and their company got served with our claims. Turns out, Shannon also countersued Jason around the same time. Bill stressed that I should stay on top of things and be alert. So, get this, Jason apparently made some threats against me. Can you believe it? I never thought he would be dumb enough to do something like that, considering he already has everything he wants. But just to be safe, I went and grabbed my .45 ACP from the gun safe, made sure it was loaded and ready to go, and then placed it on the chair next to me while I watched TV. A few hours later, I was at the sink when I saw a black BMW pull into my driveway and an angry Jason jump out, pulling a baseball bat out of the back seat. I knew I had to act fast, so I quickly went back to my chair where my cell phone was and called for help. 911, I felt safe knowing the door was locked. I called 911 and told the operator that my wife's boyfriend was in my driveway with a baseball bat. They sent a bunch of cops my way. Just then, I heard another car pull up outside. From the screams and voices, I could tell it was Kelsey. Then, there was a high-pitched screech. I jumped as my front door shattered from the impact, and an angry Jason burst inside, yelling at the top of his lungs. "You bastard, you got me fired, you ruined my divorce." He was fuming. Man, I was so angry I was ready to shoot that guy. But when I gripped the pistol, it helped me calm down a bit. Jason was going crazy with the bat, and I could hear Kelsey screaming outside, begging him to stop. He threatened to kill me and take my daughter too, after taking my wife. I let him come closer before I pulled out my gun. His eyes looked angry and you could tell he wasn't thinking straight. His bat was raised up high, but it wasn't gonna do much from 25 feet away. The sound of the bullet in the chamber was so loud. I was always taught to strike first. My aim was on point, hitting my target 3 times. The second shot was fired right after the first, causing Jason to slow down. I think it was just the force that made him stumble and fall as the third round was fired. I saw some movement at the door, but I was too focused on my mission to pay attention. The bullet flew through and almost hit Kelsey, but she managed to dodge it. Jason fell to his knees and then hit the ground hard. I could hear my stomach churning as I heard screams amidst the ringing in my ears. The gun was way louder than I expected in that moment. Sirens were blaring and cops were yelling as they didn't realize how serious things were. They flipped Kelsey onto her stomach and cuffed her by the open door, her cries just wouldn't stop. I was in shock watching everything happen, but then I finally noticed the gun aimed at me and the cop yelling at me to drop it. So, I snapped out of it, put down the weapon, and did what he told me to do. The next couple of weeks were crazy. Jason was declared dead right there. Later, I found out from the cops and witnesses that he got served with my lawsuit and divorce papers from his wife at the same time. It didn't take him long to figure out that the pictures came from me. Kelsey was right there when he opened the envelope from his wife and saw that she had the same photos. A few moments later, they were both caught off guard. I was summoned to the VP's office where they spilled the beans about their affair. They didn't realize the consequences, but since they knew my lawsuit against the company wouldn't go anywhere, the managers decided to fire the managing director for hooking up with a lower-ranking employee. That's when things went south. Jason saw me as the bad guy for standing up to him and messing up his plans. He even grabbed a souvenir bat from his office and decided to confront me. Kelsey peeped him from the conference room on the second floor of my house and figured out where he was headed. She caught up with him in the driveway and tried to calm him down before he could harm me. Little did they know, I had been tipped off about their arrival and was prepared. Jason gave Kelsey a black eye when she tried to stop him from coming in. Thankfully, she didn't get hurt otherwise, but she had nightmares for months. I checked in on her a couple times in between talking to the cops. Me and Kelsey never really talked about what went down at home, even after all the drama with the prosecutors and court visits. She was like a ghost of herself after losing her man, lover, and kid in less than a day. She never really bounced back from that. Even during the divorce, she didn't bother getting a lawyer or fighting it. I ended up getting custody of Caitlin without a hitch, which was unexpected. Kelsey never even took her share of the money from the agreement. Bill held onto it for her, but eventually passed it back to me a year later. Later on, she never came back to our place and ended up staying with her family until she vanished. She had a couple of supervised visits with Caitlin, but they were always awkward or didn't go well. I made sure Caitlin was ready for every visit, even if we didn't hear from Kelsey. She showed up about every fourth visit. I heard Kelsey was hooked on painkillers and other prescription drugs to help her relax and get her head straight. By the time she disappeared, she was jobless, had no friends, and was broke. Caitlin and I lost touch with everyone who knew her, and we never heard from her again. We have no clue what happened to her. We lost our wife and mom. The house got sold, and Caitlin and I bought a new one in her school district to try and get our lives back on track. We both saw therapists after that messed up situation. I went for 6 months, but eventually I had to just push down the pain and keep moving forward. I had a daughter to take care of and a life to live. Caitlin spent a bunch of years with a therapist, on and off, mostly because of how she reacted to the situation. After getting divorced and dealing with Kelsey going missing, Caitlin had a ton of mental stuff to work through. It took me 3 years to finally snap out of it and consider dating again. A few months later, I met this amazing woman named Jo who totally got and respected what Caitlin and I had been through. We took things slow, way slower than we wanted, but eventually we got physical and tied the knot about 16 months later. Jo and I raised Caitlin as our own, but we never had any more kids. Our lives got better and more stable as time went on. Why I know, as time went on, our only issues were all about Caitlin's big life events, like her high school and college graduations. I tried hiring Larry a bunch of times to track down Kelsey, but every lead just ended up being a dead end. Everyone thought she must have died somewhere all by herself and messed up. It was a rough time, but we did what we could and moved on. I was just glad I had time to make a plan and find the right people to help me out. Make sure you subscribe to our channel so your partner doesn't end up two-timing you, and just keep moving forward. Yo, you gotta hear this next story, it's wild. But just a heads up, it ain't got nothing on the next one. If you're a kid, definitely don't even try to listen to it.